Yeah, all right. So this one is going to be the dishonorable conduct of Gilles Blinn, RCMP officer, staff sergeant. I don't know what his title is, but now he's retired. So he made a full career out of this, right? And he made it, found it quite profitable to do this kind of what this kind of job here, career made of I don't know exactly what he's doing, but I can take a guess, and that involves generating a lot of revenue for the state. But dishonorable, surely, a whole career, and at the end of your career, you're left with a dishonor and a stain. Um, I'm glad I'm not in his shoes, that's for sure. So the dishonorable conduct of Gilles Blin, and the reason that we're talking about this is the brother of Michel Maridau. Michel was born with a Blin last name, and then she married Dow, which is an Englishman. So what happened here? This guy is 100% Acadian. He's an Acadian man, and he's a traitor to the Acadian people. And look at the kind of costume he's wearing here. He's an agent of the British Crown. If you can imagine. Well, yeah, but it's a conquered people. Don't worry, I know. And the reason that it's conquered is because of guys like this. Dishonorable guys like this. So let's get into it, and then we'll talk a little bit more. All right, so the duty to change unjust law. So is this law unjust? Well, the law, it's a little bit like the Roe v. Wade of Canada. We talked about that in a previous video, and that is basically gives the women the not the right, but the legal framework in which not to prosecute people that will perform abortions, and the IUD or hormonal birth control is one of that, except worse, the abortions, well, they would kill a baby in the womb of their mother, and also the IUD there will also kill the baby in the womb of the mother at the earliest stages of life in implantation. So what happens is that the baby is actually conceived, and the baby is conceived, and then when the baby is naturally progressing and in its development, it will attempt the implantation in the womb. But these death drugs, these are called abortifacients, will ensure that the instead of an implantation, a successful implantation into the womb, the baby will die. So that is a murder. So then these types of legal frameworks and everything will be made to not give the policemen the tools to indict. And they should be indicting for that kind of murder, but they don't. Why? Because they can there's I mean, a different generation surely will, and a different, geographical location will indict these people. So why not this? And if you say, well, no, he has the chance. He had the chance, and he made a full career out of it, and he had a chance to say, "Wow, this is wrong. I'm not going to be a part of this," but he didn't. And so that's why. That's why he made a full career out of it, and he chose to to continue with his very lovely home and everything like that. He's got snowmobiles and Harley Davidson. He's got a whole barn. It's a barn that he rebuilt this barn as a toy box, basically. He can put his snowmobiles. He got a little tractor and everything like that. Harley Davidson and all this stuff, right? To do what, right? Well, to basically have permit the next generation, the future of our civilization, be killed, right? So that the babies are conceived, and that's very, very important to remember. The babies are conceived, and then they are killed. So that is murder, and the duty of the lawman, right, would be to change the unjust laws. So just because the current legal framework does not allow for prosecution, it does not mean law enforcement should be complacent. Okay? Every reasonable effort should be made to change the laws to ensure justice is served. Okay? So selective enforcement is corruption. An officer who focuses on minor infractions while ignoring crimes of immense moral and cultural consequence is not enforcing justice. He is enabling injustice. And that's true. So I would like to see the stats, right? How many summary offense tickets are given out versus how many criminal indictments are filed. I would like to see that. how many crimes go unpunished versus how many criminal indictments are filed. I'd like to see that. Myself, I had a number of crimes that were just it went to a cold case because there was not enough police resources. But for any person that will go 52 in a 50 zone, they will stop them at gunpoint and demand them that they pay them. With guns, right? There certainly is guns there, and these people are defenseless because they don't have any kind of guns to defend themselves against these. They're generating revenue for the state. All right, so the minor infractions, and then they will let Dr. Death, which is a it's just a multi-murderer, right? A serial killer, literally a serial killer. And there's no reasonable person that can argue against that fact. I'm not doing any kind of defamation or slanderous libel or anything like that. This is true. So again, the baby is conceived, right? This is a baby. This is a fully intact with 50% the DNA of the father, 50% the DNA of the mother, right? And the baby is developing naturally, right, and then killed in the implantation process. But the pregnancy is only starting. The life only begins in implantation. Well, you can try that, and you'll see that embryology will prove that to be medical science, basic biology, right? Basic biology will prove that to be false, right? So a policeman in title only. So if a law enforcement officer cannot or will not seek justice against a mass murderer, then what kind of policeman is he? Well, a uniform without action is nothing but a costume. And that is a great point. That's why I said it's costume. Look at this costume. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. He's a dishonorable guy. He's dishonorable. There's nothing more complicit, dishonorable gentleman here. It's quite frightening to see the enormity and depravity of this crime. And this guy, this is her brother doing absolutely nothing to stop it, actually making a full career in retiring and enjoying his snowmobiles and Harley Davidson. Right. All right. So loyalty to the crown over his own people. Right? Loyalty to the crown. Gilles Blinn chose a career that upholds the very system that allows the eradication of his own people. His silence in the face of this genocide is a betrayal of Acadian history and identity. And, it's important to know that Acadian people will not survive this kind of thing. It's important to remember that. We will not survive this kind of thing. There will be a complete eradication of the Acadian culture and people, right? There's going to be assimilation. There's going to be other cultures that will come in, and the Acadian culture, the white European descendants as we know it, will be completely, you can estimate 150 to 250 years, there will be a complete eradication of the Acadian people because of these guys here. But a legacy of betrayal, a legacy, and that's the thing too. What kind of legacy do I want to leave behind for the future, right? All right, so history will not remember him for issuing traffic tickets, but failing to stand against mass murder. His inaction will stain his name forever. Right, his inaction. You're failing to you're failing to indict. Right, the murderer, the murderess, if you will. You're failing to ignite. Yeah, all right, sorry about that. And so a legacy of betrayal. So history will not remember him for issuing traffic tickets, but for failing to stand against mass murder. His inaction will stain his name forever. Right. So the thin blue line cannot excuse this. If an officer's duty is to protect the innocent, then why does he stand idly while the most innocent unborn Acadians are exterminated? Right? They are actually killed. That's the thing. It's not some idea of some baby. There is a baby. There is a real small boy or small girl that is being killed. All right. Complicity through inaction, right? When an officer knows of mass killing and refuses to act, he is not just failing in his duty. He is actively complicit in the crime. Does he serve justice or just the state? And that's very important question here. So a policeman who enforces revenue collection over criminal indictments is not a guardian of the people. He is a servant of bureaucratic oppression. Absolutely. And how much revenue did they collect? That is a question for another video. But I assure you that it's a large amount for sure. Traffic tickets are quite profitable, very very profitable. And he's there living, in a large house with Harley Davidsons and snowmobiles. But the amount of revenue that he collected for the state far exceeds his net worth right now. So he's just a very small cog in the machine. But surely, um, I mean, you could get a real job like a real policeman, for example, right? So a policeman without justice is a fraud, right? It's a fraud. If he cannot or will not hold the guilty accountable, he is no better than those who protect criminals for their own benefits. All right, so what's going on here is that there are deaths. Okay, there are deaths. These babies, right, small boys and small girls, are being killed by this gentleman's here sister, right? The sister, and if you can imagine such a thing, the policeman that is failing in his duty certainly is dishonorable, and that is the video of the day, the dishonorable conduct of Gilles Blinn, which is it's my family, and I am so ashamed, so extraordinarily ashamed to have this kind of guy as my family member, right? And it's always any kind of conversations that I've ever had with him. It's always it's always a disdain and a disrespectful tone, and he's the authority and all this stuff. There's none of that, right? This guy's dishonorable, and this issue here will prove it beyond any doubt at all. All right, so what's going on here again? All right, the basic embryology or basic biology will and it's written in your heart that a baby is the fertilization is the beginning of life. So when the sperm meets the egg, that is when a baby is conceived, right? So there's a baby. There's a fully intact, the embryo, if you will. But let's just call it what it is. It's not a blastocyst or an embryo or a fetus. It's a baby, right? A small boy or a small girl, and in its state, which stage of development will it die? Will he? Sorry, it is not the correct pronoun, if you will. I'm sorry for that. I do apologize for saying it, right? So an embryo is not an it, right? An embryo is a him or a her. And the only reason that I would use embryo is to just clarify the situation here. But the reality is a small boy or a small girl. So him or her will die. The small boy or the small girl will die at the stage of implantation in the mother's womb. Why? Because this gentleman's sister prescribed an abortifacient, which is a death drug, which does not prevent the pregnancy. It actually kills the baby in the womb. Okay, and again, well, the legal and all this stuff. Well, it's your job to at least do a reasonable effort to change these unjust laws, right? The current legal framework of this generation here and in this part of the world, sure, does not allow for prosecution, or maybe it protects those. I don't know how you could say it, but it does not allow. It doesn't give him the legal, the law enforcement tools to be able to indict. But he is still complicit due to the immense gravity of the situation, and that's why, at the very least, we're going to call it what it is, and it's a dishonorable, and dishonorable is adequate, and I don't think anybody's going to disagree with this here. The dishonorable, the conduct was dishonorable, and thankfully for him, everything went great, and he had a full career. He's got a retirement pension. He's got some Harley Davidsons and some snowmobiles in a big toy box. It's a barn. It's a barn, and it's I just call it a toy box because that's essentially what it is. There's not any kind of farming that goes on in the back. It's a nice barn. He completely rebuilt the barn, and he can put his Harley Davidsons and his snowmobiles there in that toy box that I like to refer it to, and enjoy his own grandchildren. Well, that's great. He's got some nice grandchildren he can enjoy, so that's great. So that's all for today. I'll see you in the next video.